What's up, guys? I'm Kyle, and today we're at Foxwoods Casino playing a little bit of 2-5, and it is the vlog of suited connectors. Will they connect and actually pay off, or are they going to cost me in the long run? Anyway, roll that intro so you get to know me. I'm Kyle. I'm just your friendly neighborhood firefighter by day, saving lives, putting out fires, falling on the news. And when I'm not embarrassing myself at a fire scene, I'm also a wedding cinematographer. And I'm not sure what job is more stressful, to be honest, but damn, look at that shot. But wait, there's more! I am a husband, dad, and stepdad to 4 kids running amok. Oh my god, like, see, what is she doing? But this is my poker channel. I love the game, the strategy, the thrill of the play, whether it's live tournaments or cash games, anything but online poker. Fuck online poker. So join me as we dive into the ups and downs, the wins, the losses, and everything in between. From poker tips and strategies to behind the scenes looks at my life. There's a lot to explore. So hit that subscribe button, like the video, and ring the bell for notifications. Let's stack those chips together and enjoy the ride. Welcome to the channel. Alright, while we wait for the 2-5 table, we sit down at 1-2, and I'm going to pause it here because I absolutely hate 1-2, and as you can see, we have a horrendous hand. But I decided to get cheeky, and I'm going to tell you why. The guy to my left in the big blind explained to me that he doesn't chop. Now, all that means is that when it comes down to the blinds, if everybody folds, we kind of just forfeit our hands, take back our blinds, and the house doesn't take a rake, and we get to get a new hand. Which is totally fine, and he's well within his right to do that, but I have this overwhelming urge to teach him a lesson, which is definitely not going to backfire. So I bet out $12 to try to take the pot right here, steal his $2, end the hand. But of course, he's read a couple of poker books and decides to defend his big blind. So he calls the $12, and we're off to a flop with a beautiful deuce 5 suited. So now the flop comes out Jack Ace 6 Rainbow, which couldn't have missed me anymore if I was Donald Trump speaking at a Pennsylvania rally. But the good news is it hits my range, so I c-bet for $10. He doesn't buy it, so he decides to come along for $10, and we go off to a turn. So now the turn's not terrible. It is a 9 of clubs. Now this gives me the babiest of flush draws, but it gives me just enough equity to keep going, and I decide to bet out for $25. Now I'm really hoping to not have to see a river card and just take it down with my 5 high right here. But now he puts on the pressure. Now he raises me to $50 to see a river. Now what could he have here? He could have a flush draw as well. He could have any baby ace. He could have 2 pair. But I decide to make the call with my flush draw. So I am hoping for a club and a club only on this river. Which, do we get it? Of course not. Because karma. I decided to be a douche before the flop, and now I'm paying for it. Sorry about my camera going askew here. I must have hit it while I was counting how much unnecessary money I had donated to this hand. I digress. At this point, I pretty much give up this hand. I check. My opponent bets out a whopping $60, and I snap fold. Not incredibly happy about how I played that hand or how it turned out, but karma's a bitch. You know, the only reason I'm playing 1-2 right now is because it's like 3 times rewards points in the poker room, and I'm really trying to get that gold card, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be playing it! But here we are at the 1-2 table playing another premium 6-4. All right. I go ahead and limp from under the gun because I decide to ignore every poker book I've ever read. And it does bite me in the ass because middle position decides to raise it up to 11, which I ended up calling. And just to clarify, the reason I hate 1-2 is not because it's too low stakes for me. I mean, I play 2-5 normally. It's still considered low stakes. It's because this particular poker room, there are players that play the 1-2 tables that will call a 3, 4, 5 times big blind pre-flop bet with absolute garbage. And you know what? They'll hit. I'm sure by now you caught the irony that I called $11 pre-flop with 6-4. But would you look at that? We get rewarded with a gut shot straight flush draw. Now I check to my opponents, which I would with my entire range, and the action checks around. Now when the turn comes the 6 of clubs, I want to try to bloat this pot now in case my magic card hits, so I bet out for $15 and get one caller from middle position. Ace of club hits on the river, we miss our straight, we miss our flush. Hopefully he did as well. I bet out for 20. He snap calls and flips over 2 pair aces and 6s. Didn't need the ace, had us with the 6. Doesn't matter, we muck and move on. Now this hand, believe it or not, is more of the same. We look down at 9-8 offsuit in the big blind. We have 4 limpers over to us. I debate on squeezing here, but I decide this is my last hand before I go sit at the 2-5 table. Let's see a free flop. And just like before, the flop hits and gives me just enough equity to keep me in the hand with a gut shot straight draw. I check it over, and there's checks around into middle position, bets out for $7. A couple of folds. I find myself having enough equity to chase a gut shot, especially for $7. I make the call. Seems to be folds around, so it is just myself in middle position off to the turn, which comes the 6 of clubs pairing the board. I check over, he bets out for 10, and I debate chasing, but I decide $10, why not? Last hand at 1-2, and we're off to the river, which I'm hoping is a 7, and it is the ace of clubs. I check, he checks back, obviously has some showdown value, which he does. He shows 5-4 suited for 5s and 6s. We muck and lose our last hand. But thank God, our seat for the 2-5 table is open, and we rack up our chips and head over there. Gotta be honest, the first hand at the 2-5 table is a rough one as well. We chip up for $1,000 in front of us, and we look down at Queen Jack suited. We're going to open it up from under the gun to $20 is the price of poker, and we get one caller. The caller is a player I've played with before. He's a very good player, very aggressive, and I got to be honest, I'm a little nervous, but the flop comes out King, Queen, 10, 2 clubs. Not the best run out. We do have an open-ended straight draw. We do not have a club, and we have middle pair. I then c-bet for $20 and get a pretty fairly quick call. The turn comes out another 10, pairing the board now, so I have so many hands that I lose to. Straights, 3 of a kind, full houses, any king. So I show some weakness here and decide to check, which was probably not a great call because he then takes the aggression and bets out $40, which I reluctantly call, to a river of the Jack of Diamonds, which is great. We have 2 pair, but oh my God, any ace makes a straight, any 9 makes a straight, any 10 beats us. However, an ace is 100% in our range, so I now bet out $60. Now he stops and he thinks for a little while, until he doesn't, and he looks down at his chip stack and re-raises me to $210. Now, he doesn't have many bluffs here. He's got to know an ace is in my range. He's got to know that I could have any of the straights. I'm almost thinking now he's absolutely nutted. He's got King 10. He's got Queen 10. That's all cards that are in his range that he would definitely be re-raising me here. It's a very risky bluff to re-raise me on the river when any ace is going to call.
That's rough. So, hell of a laydown I'm going to do here.
I do end up making the laydown, which I think is absolutely a good call. And we just got to move on. This one I'm kind of proud of, and we don't even see a flop. I am in the big blind, and the guy under the gun min clicks it to $10, and the under the gun +1 min clicks it again to $20. There are 2 callers for $20 in middle position, and when it eventually makes its way back around to me in the big blind, I say enough of this min clicking bullshit and decide to raise it up to $75. So with ace king offsuit, $75 is the price of poker. Now, everybody folds. Now, I consider that a huge win because ace-king offsuit, I don't really want to see a flop, to be honest with you. I'll just pick up the dead money in the middle, and we'll be good. Now, this isn't the vlog of suited connectors for nothing. We look down at 8-7 of clubs, and under the gun decides to open it up to $30. We get folds all around to myself and the small blind, and I decide to come along for the ride. This under-the-gun player has been playing very loose, and I feel like he could open with quite a wide range, even from early position. And we see a pretty decent flop with 2 clubs, and I check to the under-the-gun player as I would with my whole range. He comes out again for another $30, which I call. Deuce of hearts on the turn and checks around. Now, some good fortune with the ace of clubs on the river. This guy has not liked to fold all game, so I thought I could get away with a $55 bet and have him call me, but unfortunately he folds, and we scoop this pot with an 8-high flush. We now have chips moving in the right direction since our small loss in 1-2. Now, a few orbits go by where we're pretty card dead, and in that time, we chase a few draws and we bleed until we look down at a beautiful pocket aces, and we're going to open it up in middle position to $20. Unfortunately, nobody wants to 3-bet me, but we do pick up 2 callers and go on to a flop. The flop hits the board 6-8 deuce rainbow, and I c-bet for $35. Our friend in the hijack that hates folding decides to come along for the ride, which is unsurprising, and our friend in the small blind quickly mucks his cards. So we are now going heads up to a turn of the 9 of clubs. 7-10 gets there for a straight, but I don't really put him on that. I want to charge for the club draw. I bet out $60, and he pretty angrily folds his cards. We scoop up a nice pot here without even seeing a showdown, and continue the good run. Now, these next 2 hands are extremely interesting. I limp under the gun +1 with 5-3 suited, and middle position makes it $20. The middle position raiser is an extremely tight and grumpy old man who is really fun to suck out on. So that's why I made that call. Unfortunately, the flop comes ace, queen, 5, so we hit bottom pair on that. But luckily enough for me, it checks all around, and the turn comes another 5. Granted, there is a flush on the board. So I see where I'm at and bet $35. I get a call to my left, and the initial aggressor pre-flop decides to put in a re-raise to $110 total. So believe it or not, this isn't just a snap call. I've played with this player every time I've come to this casino. He practically lives here, and he's one of those old grumpy retired guys that literally just sits at the table and folds hoping to hit the bad beat jackpot. He only raises with absolute premium hands. There is a very good chance he's holding pocket aces, pocket queens, and he just boated up. I do end up making the call because I'm not folding trips anytime soon, and there is a good chance he has ace-king or even ace-queen, and I obviously check so very fast because I am very happy with the pot as it is right now, and he checks back. I show him the trip 5s, and he does show me ace-queen for a flopped 2 pair. He slow played the flop with a check and allowed me to see that other 5. It's his own fault for allowing me to get trips. Sorry, not sorry. We go into the last hand of the session, which is another 5-3 suited. Like I said, it is the vlog of suited connectors, so obviously we're going to limp again under the gun. But this time we get around to a cheap flop and see deuce, 6, jack, 2 spades. Wow, did I just flop a gut shot straight flush draw twice in one session? I'm between 2 players, and I'd like to see how strong I am compared to them, so I bet out for $10 just as a feeler. I get 1 call and 1 fold, off to a turn of the king of hearts. My opponent checks to me, and I check back for pot control and to see if I can catch my straight flush, which I don't, but I do catch the straight. My opponent checks back at me again, and I bet $20 just to beg for a call, which he does, and I flip over the straight, which is good. My opponent mucks and says that he was looking for one of my hole cards to get his straight. We're going to rack up our chips and head to the cage and see how we did. We were in for this 1-2/2-5 session for $1,200, out for $990 for a total loss of $210. Overall, I'm not incredibly happy with how I played that session, but another reason I'm starting this channel is so you guys can tell me exactly what I did wrong in the comments. So please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification, and don't forget to curse me out in the comments. See you on the next one.